Uh, welcome everybody. It's time for the popcorns and the beers, where some use tomatoes and others use thumbs. We use the stuff that gets you drunk. It's the Lagunitas IPA today. Anyway, welcome. My name is Josh, and here's Jordan. Say hi, Jordan.
Oh, hey there. Hi. How's it going?
Let's start with you. You got the big heavies today. You have a week off, so you had a lot going on with the movie. Do you want to start with Budapest since you missed the classic?
Sure, yeah. So I had never seen Grand Budapest, but I really wanted to. So I'm just going to give my quick little butt in from what you guys said last week. It's very... I feel like it's very like Roald Dahl, you know, like James and the Giant Peach kind of, that kind of weird artistic style, and very like it felt very Monty Python, you know, with the scenes and like the cutaways to like the weird miniatures and stuff.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, his movies are way similar. Like, have you seen?
French Connection. Oh, yeah, you guys told me I have to watch it, and I'm about halfway through it now. Yes, it is the same. He has the same template, basically. Even in his stop motion, when he does Fantastic Mr. Fox, it's the same style. And I think that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And it almost felt like the same movie, but which is fine, because, I mean, the French Dispatch was my first, I think, exposure to him, as far as I know. And, I really liked that movie. Like, wow, this is something I've never seen anything kind of like this. So I was like, okay, I get to see a little more of that. And it was really cool. Heavy on narration. You know, there's always a character that's kind of narrating his kind of stories within his stories that he kind of does. And he relies heavily on the set for comedic effect. Like just quirky little things, weird things going on in the background, like a small window opening up in the corner.
Like, how is that funny?
Where your eye is focused, you know?
Or like when he
it's
leaves
really
what's her face's house, and he's running on the rooftops, and like he runs in the foreground, and then he's instantly in the background, like impossible cuts like that. It was so funny to me. It's so funny, and that happened in French Dispatch. In the very beginning, there was a guy going up the stairs, and instantly he's on the other, like, in a split second, he jumped the whole staircase. Pretty funny. I don't know how that's funny, but it is.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's cartoonish, you know. It's just very it's very simple. That's the thing. It's like it's very simple humor. That's like, oh man, it gets you in a different place. You know, a little bit of Roman Polanski apologist, Adrian Brody. Screw that guy. Not too much. The best name in Hollywood, Saoirse Ronan. I gotta say that every time she's in a movie because I just love to say her name.
Saoirse. She's great. Queen of Scots. Have you seen that? Really good in that.
Oh yeah.
She was Mary Queen of Scots.
No,
it was good.
No, she's the one in Lovely Bones.
I
right?
don't know if I've seen Lovely Bones. Is it the Matt Damon where he's a ghost or something?
Haven't seen the Lovely Bones? No. That's what Stanley Tucci kidnaps the girl, and then it's like her from it's her from like Beyond the Dead, kind of helping her parents and sister find her killer.
Wow!
Oh man, that's a trippy movie. You got to see that. It's a good one.
I would watch that.
Oh, you have seen it?
I have not seen it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I laughed soon. One of my favorite scenes. I know Fry mentioned the cat where he throws the cat out, which I mean is sad because I'm a cat lover, but you know, it was funny. It was funny, yeah.
No warning.
You couldn't help it. It's always we're always like, don't kill the dog, but throw the cat out. And then the same kind of macabre
is like when Goldblum's fingers get cut off in the doorway, and the way Willem Dafoe gingerly picks up each one individually. It's like such a cute. It's cute how they make that so strange and delicate. and he's picking up fingers from a crime.
Yeah. Speaking of Defoe, one of my favorite scenes is when they're first at the will reading, and they're punching each other. They're like taking turns, like, psh, psh. And then Willem Dafoe punches him, and then it just like cuts to him. Yeah, like
who's next?
Yeah. I was like, what the hell is that?
So
that was weird.
Yeah.
But I really like that movie. I give it a
Popcorn and 3 for sure.
It's a classic. I feel like it's something that everyone that likes cinema has to see that, and I feel like
that's a great point. And I honestly point to any Wes Anderson film. I mean, I'll probably throw Rushmore, one of his first, up. I haven't seen Bottle Rocket yet either. That's his first one. But they're all really good. They all have a specific style. Have you heard of Zissou, like Life Aquatic?
Yeah,
it's the most cartoony, perhaps. It's wild. He actually uses CG to create like underwater animals, but it's they all have that specific style, and it's really like when you're watching a Tarantino, you don't know what kind of movie it's going to be, but you know what kind of movie it's going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I liked it. Thanks for that suggestion.
What else you got going on?
All right. So over the past couple weeks, I had a little list going of some things I got to watch. I watched a little stand-up comedy. I wanted to get a stand-up comedy in, and I know you guys watched the Chris Rock one. I watched Jim Jeffries' High and Dry. I really like some of his older stuff. He's really funny. He's really funny. The Australian accent. I don't know what it is about accents. I love, like, I guess as an American point of view, foreign comics, anything was said with an accent
just say real quick.
Funny because it sounds way more.
When you said Australian accent, that's when I knew who you were talking about. This whole time and in pre-production, I thought we were talking about Jim Gaffigan. Yeah, so Jim Jeffries, he's great. Let's get back to that. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's all good. It had its moments. He's definitely tapering off just because his style of humor was very like, he even mentions it in the thing. He's talking about, hookers and booze and debauchery and stuff, but he says, "Oh, I'm 45 now and I'm married and have 2 kids, and so, this is kind of just my life now." Yeah, and there's something about a guy talking about his domestic life in a way that's very like, just his style is just super crude. So it's just like, I don't know. Like he's like, "Oh, my wife is watching this. At this point, she's probably looking at me on the couch," and I'm like, funny, right?
Yeah.
His delivery though on a lot of his jokes, like even if the material isn't really like what you're expecting, his delivery still is what makes him so funny. He touches a lot of the no topics right now that's gotten a lot of comedians in trouble, like the trans thing. He specifically talks about, this is what Dave Chappelle did wrong, and this is my approach to it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give, you know what I mean? And then he nails on Greta Thunberg, which is another one that's like, oh, stay away from that one. The whole time you're like, oh God, where's he going with this? But he does a decent job at keeping it in the ballpark, keeping it funny. But I give it a pop in a beer.
But have you seen his podcast or listened to his podcast? It's called it's a pretty good one. It's called I Don't Know About That. So he has like a producer and a sidekick or whatever, like a regular morning show, or I guess. They bring on an expert and he has to guess what they do. And then, okay, you find out I'm a paleontologist. Okay, cool. So then he has to tell you everything. Jim Jeffries tells you everything he knows or thinks about paleontology. Then they quiz him, and then the actual expert talks about their field of study. So he gets on a lot of scientists.
Wow, that sounds really interesting.
All sorts of people are on the show. It's pretty cool. It's a good podcast. Check it out. After this one.
I really have to check that out. That's on Netflix.
Oh, it's on Netflix, yeah.
Yes. I also got to I binge watched the whole Invincible series on Amazon Prime. Yes. Animated. You guys, I think Fry touched on this in one of our earlier episodes, I think, or was it you that got to watch it?
Oh, we talked about it, I'm sure, because it's my favorite comic book.
Yeah. It's got an all-star voiceover cast. A lot of overlap with one of my favorite kind of polarizing animated shows right now is Big Mouth.
Oh, yeah.
I love watching Big Mouth on Netflix.
Yeah, I watched the first 2 seasons. It's great.
But a lot of the same cast, voiceover cast members. Yeah. Jason Mantzoukas. I don't know if you know who Jason Mantzoukas is. He is funny, man. His voice, you can pick that out anywhere. Yeah, he brings life to any animated series.
Yeah, they can tell him like you're going to be a trash can.
It's an interesting take. Yeah. But you still know it's him, but it doesn't take you out. His voice doesn't take you out of the what you're watching, It's an interesting take on superheroes in that when you have these fight scenes, these action scenes with superheroes and people are throwing people through buildings and through trains and stuff and cars, it's kind of just like, bam, you just see the effect on the building or the actual structure that they're hitting. You don't think like there's people inside and they're flying through that building, like smashing through people or, smashing through a subway car and there's people, you know what I mean? You don't think about that. Or like they go through the building and the whole building collapses, So I thought that was the most a take on superhero stuff that was really I hadn't really thought of before that I was exposed to watching this. I thought it was a little slow at first, I guess as most superhero type things are, because you got to get through how they get their powers and how their issues and everything to where you just get to the fun stuff. But it gained steam. It slowly got there. And when it got there, it was like, like this is it. I'm in. I understand why people like this so much. Popcorn and 2 beers.
Popcorn and 2 beers. That's nice. So when you saw it, did you see after the first episode the after credit scene? Important to see that. I did. Because some people miss it, and it's pretty important. It kind of like it's enough to keep you like, what? So like all the boring stuff you can get through better. I feel like a lot of folks do compare it to The Boys. I know you said earlier you kind of feeling that if we're doing comparisons. Yes. But what I try to urge people is that it's not the same thing at all. Like I know it seems like that, the evil Superman trope, you know what I mean? But that's season 1. Like it goes somewhere entirely different. And it goes somewhere cool. The whole show is like an homage to so many different types of villains and types of storylines. There's DC elements in there, and every character is a ripoff of someone from somewhere else. Like it's a comedy show, and there's comedy elements to it. Anyway, I'm over talking. It gets so much better. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, you're so good. Much better. It did build up a few different storylines that it looks like it's aiming to go in the coming future. And that's season 2 is coming soon, right? I believe.
November.
I've seen something it's coming out real soon. So, okay. So get caught up on first season and get ready for season 2. It's a pretty good show. I also watched, as most of the zeitgeist did, watch The Last of Us. Yes. Pedro Pascal played. He was so good in the show. He's so good at everything. He's such a likable guy, Even when you see interviews of him talking about the show or his interactions with the girl who played Ellie, who, everyone freaked out when they saw who the girl from Game of Thrones cast as Ellie from there, just because she doesn't exactly look. Her. She doesn't exactly didn't look the part, but man, she acted that part so well. The voice, the manners, and the attitude, everything was. She did so good, and it really didn't matter. After the first few episodes, you were like, okay, and they stuck to the source material of the game.
That's rare.
Really good, really super good. Yeah, and it didn't feel like tiresome, like, I played the game, I've already seen this, because people who haven't played the game, it's such a good story that it's like it's good. It worked in the game, so why change it? You know what I mean? And like I said, Pedro Pascal is really good, but all I could hear the whole time, and there is similarities to the Mandalorian, like he's typecast as the child escort.
Yeah.
If you watch The Mandalorian, he's just escorting Baby Yoda, and he's escorting this girl, and Yeah,
And was he
that's
technically
his role.
escorting Nick Cage in that
The
other movie?
grumpy.
When that kind of when he's in that movie with Nick Cage?
Which one?
I
No,
think
I
it's
haven't
called
seen
like
it. I
I'm
might
with
have.
Nick
I don't
Cage
know.
or something. I think it's a title. Yeah, it's a title like
What?
that, where it's like he's Nick Cage playing himself, like a fabulous version of himself, and Pedro Pascal just goes to hang out with him or something like
Yeah,
that. I haven't seen it yet either.
that sounds awesome. Yeah, that sounds like something I want to.
Yeah, a little bit.
Watch a little bit of. The episode. So I guess it's getting the word is it's getting review bombed on Rotten Tomatoes. There's a couple episodes where people are like,
I heard
"Oh,
about
that
the
was so
homosexual
unnecessary to
episode.
the story," but it's literally part of.
Ew.
Yeah, that's not very. That's alluded to in the game, but it's not
Okay.
played out. But man, that episode is one of the best episodes of TV I've seen in a while. That's like just on its own where it kind of diverts from the story. That was a really, really good episode. And I think Nick Offerman, I tweeted out that he deserves
Oh, great.
for his performance in that. Yeah. There's also another spin-off kind of episode towards the end there where the girl has her kind of orientation kind of fleshed out, her so, and that is actually a huge part of the game that you actually play through a significant amount of time through that. So yeah, so screw those people that are bombing it for the wrong reasons. It was fine. It's true to the source material. So what do you want? It reminded me of when The Walking Dead was good. Is what I was
that's
saying,
the mic drop right there.
I bowed out of The Walking Dead after about the third season. Fourth season, I got about halfway through and I was like, I can't do it. But this reminded me of when it was fresh and it was like something new. It's reinvigorating to the zombie TV show sphere. I'll definitely be buying the Last of Us 2 game to get a peek at what's coming next for the series. But yes, yeah. But I've read that it's going to kind of stray away from that storyline because that storyline, I guess, is not very popular. And I don't know. So we'll see. I'm going to look into that. I give the series the first season of
Dang, that's cool.
Really like
I need to get around to watching it. And I should just go ahead and play the game.
Also, we got a review for the much talked about The Whale. The mysterious and much talked about The Whale with Brandon Fraser. One is definitely earned his Best Actor Oscar. Absolutely. Oh my God. So there's a lot of the movie is centered on kind of, so it's a week. It's kind of a week in his life. I don't want to.
He dies.
Really try not to spoil.
Let's get over it.
But yeah, it's a very short, simple, linear plot. So he's in heart failure, but he keeps refusing to go to the hospital because he doesn't have health insurance as a college English professor. And it's like, bro, me and that same. I'd be like, no, I'm not going to die and leave my estranged child with, with this hospital debt. You know what I mean? Like, screw it. It's done for me. It's very centered on religion. There's like a missionary kid that keeps coming and going in and out, trying to convert him because he sees that he's kind of on his way out. And just everyone in the show just craps on him. And it's pretty funny, but you get a lot of analysis of that kind of door-to-door, that door-to-door missionary preacher thing. Like, they kind of say a lot of the things that you're like, sometimes I wish I could say some of that stuff to some of these people, you know what I mean? Even though they're often very nice people, but Sadie Sink, she got some flack. I don't know where I heard or read, maybe it was on Howard Stern, somewhere that people were like, oh, I didn't like her casting. Like, she wasn't cast very well. But I think she did an excellent job at being awful. Like, she's just an awful kid.
It's hard to pull off and still be a likable character.
It's like, yeah. Even there's a scene where he's arguing with the mom, and she's like, she's evil. Like, she is evil. That's why I kept her away. I thought she would kill you in your sleep. Like, she is an evil child. Yeah, it's like wow. But she plays the role really well. You know, you kind of see her development of that character and her character in like Stranger Things. You know, she kind of plays that troubled,
Yeah.
rough, kid. She's really good in that. So screw the people that said that she wasn't well cast or didn't do a good job in that. So I guess the whole score of the movie, I heard on Howard Stern, Brendan Fraser was on there, kind of doing his press rounds to try to lobby himself to the Oscars. The whole score, I guess, is supposed to resemble whale noises.
Whoa!
So if you know that, and when you watch the movie, pay attention to that. Like there's a lot of kind of ambient,
Okay. Wow.
kind of noises going on in the background that you'll notice. It's cool stuff. And then even the set is decorated. If you pay attention, there's like wallpaper. It's very nautical. It's a lot of ocean themed stuff that if you're looking with the right eye, you'll catch it. You'll be like, oh wow, that's cool. It adds something, but it's
that's
very
really
subtle.
impressive.
So yeah. Every exchange of dialogue in the movie brings different emotions, sometimes multiple in one. It was really hard to watch emotionally. It's honestly a movie I don't know if I could ever bring myself to watch again.
That's a big category of movies that was a wonderful. I loved it. Never gonna watch it again. Yeah,
it was rough. It's a day ruin. That's what I call that.
Yeah,
it's like, man, how do I go and do something productive with the rest of my day? After, this
Requiem for a Dream. It always does that to me. Ruins my day for sure.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. My takeaway from the movie is have empathy for others because you don't know what trauma or circumstance got them into the situation that they're in. I like about 1 out of every 5 A24 movies I see. So this was definitely the one. This is definitely one for me, as opposed to 4 or 5 stinkers.
Well, they make some stinkers, but they always do the big swings and they always try. You know what I mean? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, hey, they swept the Oscars pretty much.
Right? Oh yeah, everything everywhere.
Just about every major category.
That was A24, right? Yeah.
Yeah. All Quiet on the Western Front, I think, is an A24. No, was that A24?
One of them was.
No. I don't know. Yeah. Everything.
That's what's up.
3 beers.
I gotta watch it, but I just know what kind. I sensed that it was one of those kind of movies. It's kind of hard to miss. Get it? Yeah. It was kind of like I've been putting it off because I don't want to have my day ruined. Well, yeah. Speaking of movies that can kind of ruin your day, that's where I started out actually too, and it's the reason I haven't watched a lot of movies this week because I watched 2 brain melters back to back. And both of them were enough to just keep me thinking about them all week long. So the first one I watched on your suggestion was Banshees of Inisherin. And obviously the Oscar buzz and all that stuff. And won some awards somewhere. Fantastic movie. It was so real and authentic. And it's a strong period piece. Those who don't know anything about it, we've already reviewed it. But 2 friends on an island in Ireland. It's a fictional island. In Ireland, where nothing happens. 2 best friends, one of them decides, I don't want to speak to you anymore. And because of that, so many other things unfold. And there's madness involved. And it's just really, it's a psychological thinker. Not a thriller, but very macabre. But there's like some moments in it that are hilarious. And it just comes out of nowhere. It's not even like this is a funny scene. It's just like the way this played out made you just laugh out loud. A lot of symbolism. I would say basically if I was going to like condense a review, I would say that the show is about needing things to change or needing them to stay the same and how different people deal with it. Every character had something where their situation wasn't working, whether it was because of inward stuff or outward stuff or what someone's done to you or whatever it is. Everyone tries something. Your situation isn't working, you need to do something. So it's a really interesting thought about that. And it's an allegory for the Irish Civil War as well, where you wake up one day and nothing's ever the same. You can't go back to the way it was, blah, blah, blah. So I give that a popcorn and 3 beers, but it's also in that I'm probably never going to watch that again.
It's one of those movies where I I watched it and I like ran to tell everyone like, oh my God, you have to watch this movie. But yeah, it like, they would watch it like, I don't know what I just watched. Like, why did you tell me to watch that? Did you think I would like that? Like, I don't know. It was so weird. Like, I don't know how to feel. And I'm like, well, I mean, I kind of had to explain myself. You know what I mean? You got to explain.
Sometimes you have to for some, because it's definitely one of those where it's like, what's going on? But I honestly, I would put it in the stories you need to know, like not even in movies you need to watch. Like as far as like, I would put it up there with like a Charles Dickens type of thing. You know, maybe that's brash. I don't know. It's
one of those films that kind of you feel needs.
Yeah, it should be studied and needs to be set analyzed. Right next to Three Musketeers and stuff. You know what I mean? It's just solid, beautiful human story. Yeah. So Popcorn and Three Beers, that's cool. But then the other thing that I watched it right afterwards was Birdman with Michael Keaton and a bunch of other huge names. Edward Norton was a piece of trash in it, but he played a really good piece of trash. That one was kind of, I think it did. Right? It was incredible acting. Yeah. Michael Keaton. I want more Keaton is all I'm saying. He's just great. And everyone else in it is good too. Is it what's her name? Emma Watson is Emma Stone. Okay, yeah, Stone. Yeah. Either one. The big thing it got for Best Picture was because the whole movie is cut like it's one shot. It does change perspective, so I think it does do a couple little cuts where it changes from Michael Keaton's perspective to Emma Stone's perspective, but every scene is one cut. Whether they're doing camera tricks or not, it's shot that way, where Michael Keaton's moving through the back of a theater behind the curtain and stuff, and all these things are happening, and it's so perfectly choreographed. It's amazing that they got that off. It's very much like, what's that movie, 1907, right? 1917?
Yes.
That was also shot that way, but there's definitely 10-minute long scenes. Etc. that are just no cuts whatsoever. That's such a beautiful way to shoot. I love it. Remember that Children of Men did that? Did you see that?
I saw like 3/4 of it, and I don't.
Oh, dude, you missed it. So in the back end of the movie, like one of I guess the finale scene, there's a all out battle happening. People are shooting, tanks are moving in, stuff's exploding, and he's trying to find, I don't know, the kid or whatever. But there's like a 10-minute long scene where Clive Owen's just trying to get through this war zone. And it's absolutely incredible. It's just one big long shot. At one point, blood gets splattered on the camera and it just stays there for the rest of the scene. It's pretty cool. I love a one shot. Also, they did one in Ong Bak. The last fight scene in Ong Bak was he's going up a spiral hotel staircase, and it's just one big kung fu scene. I love that stuff. I'm a sucker for that. But yeah, I give Birdman Popcorn and 3. It's a wild story, a lot of symbolism, too dense for me to really tell you what it's about. But yeah, I definitely know that I'll have to watch that 3 more times and probably read a college theorem about it or whatever. An essay? Read some essays about symbolism. Yeah, but I go Popcorn and 3.
I didn't like it. I mean, I just didn't understand it. I was like, what did I just watch? I couldn't describe the plot to you for $1 million, you know. I didn't really care for that movie. It's what I remember. I only seen it the one time, and I don't really have a desire to see it again. So, but who knows? Maybe I could have been wrong.
Maybe I'm making a Popcorn and 2 because it was uncomfortable to watch. Maybe
I'm glad I took it down a notch.
I'll go Popcorn and 2 instead. There we go. We watched our classic this week, and it was Phonebooth, also a Colin Farrell movie.
Oh yeah,
early Colin Farrell when he was Mr. Haircut. Yeah, why don't you dig into that?
So yeah, that was my pick for Drunk Classic. In my absence, I still made a pick. So let me preface my review with, for everyone that's under 23, on about every block in cities, there used to be these like notoriously unsanitary glass booths where you could pay by the minute with coins, you know, the metal
coins,
silver
real
coins. You could make phone calls, not selfies, no text messaging, Twitter, just phone calls. That's all you could do. And you had to have all your important contacts memorized. Otherwise there would be, this soggy, torn phone book in there. All right. And okay, so now for everyone under 18, a phone book was I'm just kidding. I'll stop there.
It was technology. The newest thing.
Yeah. So now I personally never had to use a phone booth or even a pay phone for that matter. But, I did see them in use. I'm 20. I'm about to be 29. So, I'm old enough that I did see phone booths on a street being used. But they were, slowly, as the movie starts out, it's a disappearing technology. You're seeing less and less like this is the last phone booth in the area. It kind of sets up like a mystique about it. So, thanks Steve Jobs because then you may have had an experience like the main character, as you said, played by Colin Farrell. It's a 120-minute adrenaline shot. And it's funny because I was like, wow, this is a short movie, but it feels even shorter than it is when you're watching it. It's kind of like, I haven't seen it in a while, but I'm like, wow, we're already to that part. We're already at this stage in the movie. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember it being so succinct. The main instigating prostitute lady, she just drive you insane. Some of her lines are hilarious though, but the way that they're just making everything so much worse.
She's good at that role,
oh, man,
because she was in. She was the same one from Hustle and Flow, the one who got kicked out of that pimp's house. And she was awful in that, too, because she was good at playing that role.
Her name's something Jai Parker. I don't know her first name. But yes, she is good. Shout out to her. I like when he's arguing with the Forrest Whitaker. He's kind of in the negotiation thing. And he's like, I like this booth. This is my booth. And I'm not coming out never. That's one of my favorite lines. And then Kiefer Sutherland has one of the best psycho voice. You know what I mean? It's up there with Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. It's very monotone, very I'm smarter than you. It's very omnipotent. It's very God, yeah. I like this movie. It was one of my dad's favorite movies. I think he showed me this movie when I was I don't know, 10 maybe. I don't know when this came out, exact year. But when I was 8 or 10, definitely probably a little bit too young to watch something like this. But I got it even back then, and I really liked it. So I give it a popcorn
too. It's fun. It's fun because of how much time has passed and how different things are now. Phone booth in general is fun, but then I don't know, when they're kind of trying to track the landline and no one has there's 3 cell phones total in the whole movie. I don't know. All the dated elements of it make it more fun. And then the suit and the haircut and it was cool. It was cool to see Colin Farrell so young acting. He had a really impressive accent, even though it was a little thick. But I think his character would have put it on thick. That's his character. And it does kind of fall out in certain... It falls out towards the end when he's getting stressed, like people would do. They take down their persona a little bit when they're going through something like a gun being pointed at them. So pretty impressive acting. It was impressive that the whole movie is looking at a phone booth. So that's a huge feat. Whoever directed and cut and edited that and wrote the script and all that. It's a pretty epic feat to make me stare at a phone booth for an hour and a half or whatever. Right. I did think throughout the movie, I thought this would be a better play.
Oh, yeah.
But
I didn't think of that.
It would be a really good play, I think. However, it would be really hard to pull off on a stage as opposed to Times Square. Having
a musical, maybe?
Operator.
That's not my wife. That's not my wife.
This is my phone booth. I like it here. I'm not kidding. Oh boy, we are on to something here. Yeah, I go popcorn and 1. I think popcorn and 1 is a fair assessment. It's a cool movie. And then lastly, we're going into the butter on top. I happened to miss it because of issues, so it's all on you, man. How was Shazam?
All right. Shazam, Fury of the Gods. So I wasn't a big fan of the first one, mostly because he kind of looks cartoonish to me. I don't know why. He looks like a CGI human being. But getting over that, we're now in the sequel. My problem with this movie was there's a lot of like, okay, there's this. Pause in the action for a ton of just exposition. Like unapologetic exposition, like, oh, we got to explain the mythology behind this and blah, blah, blah. Now we got to go get that thing. And then, oh, but there's some mythology behind this we got to explain. And now we got to go get that thing. Like everything has to be prefaced.
Years ago, there was a crystal, stuff like that.
Yes, exactly. It felt like the dialogue, even because it's like they're adults. When they turn into superheroes, whenever they Shazam, they're adults, but they're all like kids. Some of them really young. Which, by the way, Megan Good plays the youngest girl, and she does really good at that because that could have been really annoying.
Oh, she has the baby voice, kind of.
Really good. Yes, yeah. But the dialogue, if this makes sense to you, if you get it, you get it. It felt like the dialogue was written by like Pete Davidson or something. So if you watch SNL, it's a lot of like, but what about my Cheetos, bro?
Okay.
Like that kind of humor, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. The movie's very inclusive. It's not like a focus. Like there's a scene, one of the kids comes out, and it's kind of just like, oh yeah, we knew that. Moving on. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about it, bud. We knew that. You're good. Moving on. So it's inclusive in that way to where it's not like a focal point of the movie, but it's really good. I love the way the monsters look, the way they're designed. There's a really shameful Skittles ad kind of right in the middle of the climactic action. Yeah, it's very blatant. Like they even drop a like, taste the rainbow. It's horrible. I was like, okay, it's like, you're not yourself when you're hungry. Have a Snickers.
Oh boy.
It's like, is it that bad? There's the part where Lucy Liu's character is flying around on a dragon and he calls her Khaleesi. He's like, okay, hey, settle down there, Khaleesi. And it's really cool looking and all that. There's a scene where a dragon is blowing fire at this big force field, and just the whole dragon part scene of that movie, it was better than any part of the Game of Thrones finale.
Wow.
So I'll just throw that out. That was done really well. It's really cool. I love seeing Philly. The movie takes place in Philadelphia. I love seeing the Philly stadium just get obliterated. Like, screw them. Screw you, Bryce Harper. The villains aren't really likable or hateable enough. They don't develop. That's a lot of I feel like it's a problem with the DC movies. There's a lot of Marvel villains. You're like, they have a point. I'd like to see them win, maybe. Definitely didn't get that in this movie. The villains are very, for the most part, playing both sides, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. I can't care about them. There's a funny part kind of at the end with the wizard. The wizard that gives them the Shazam powers, he kind of goes away and then he comes back at the very end. Not really spoiling anything there, I don't think. But if you understand this reference, it's funny. He comes back kind of in like a dress like Cam Newton, like he cleaned up, got shaved, got kind of modernized, and he's got this really stupid looking outfit, like this really stupid hat on. And if you've ever seen the quarterback Cam Newton, his press interviews were his outfits. And so when you see that movie, you'll get a good laugh out of that. It was pretty good. Like, what the hell's going on here? Who made this decision here for this ensemble? There's a lot of references like, oh, we know we're playing behind Marvel a bit. Like there's references like, I'm not Captain Marvel, or gosh, there's another one that's escaping me right now, but it's very like,
that is,
yes. Like, oh, I'm not Captain Marvel.
Because his name was Captain Marvel for 40 years.
There's also a weird Annabelle cameo in it, just in the background, early on in the movie, very early on in the movie, like first 15 minutes. So if you see that, that's weird. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Like the same studio maybe made it. I don't know, but there she is in the background. It was an okay movie. It's very kiddish. My problem was mostly with the villains and everything, just kind of weighted down. Lucy Liu is great as a villain. Helen Mirren is great. but I give it a popcorn and
popcorn and a beer. That's cool. I expected as much. Is what I assume. I'm gonna try to see it this week. Well, I guess that's kind of all we got. Well, let's talk about whose pick was it for the classic? Was it Fry's pick?
I picked Phonebooth's. So I think it might be Fry's pick.
Oh man, tough break, Fry. Fry's gonna show up eventually, and maybe we'll just do a little spot with him after. Cool. Okay. Well, let's chill, guys. Check us out
next week. You guys.
Week, go ahead.
Sorry. Next week, your butter on top you guys discussed is
John Wick.
John Wick 4,
John Wick. Okay, so
which I'm super bummed.
Let's do executive decision though. You won't be here, but I'm going to need this report. We'll record it somehow, some way. Eventually, maybe we'll do like a little snippet for later. But let's just say this week we're watching John Wick. All John Wick you can watch. Every John Wick possible. And we're going to do the full thing. And if you watch anything extra, you watch anything extra. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for coming to the show. Popcorn and Beers.
Follow us on at Popcorn and Beers.
Popcorn and Beers.
Not and. Popcorn and Beers.
Oh, YouTube's we're on The Sad Fan.
Yes. For good movie stuff.
Check out all of our other shows. Brendan, Fries, Colin. All right. Love you.
All right. So what was I watching this week? I know everybody's been anxiously waiting or hanging by a moment if you're a Lifehouse. So I did some old. I did some new. I had some fun with this. I did a documentary again, which I thought was going to be fun, but ended up being one of Josh's, that sounds painfully depressing, documentaries. So I started off with Snatch this week, which obviously we all know Brad Pitt's Cockney accent. You know, get her the Girvan. That whole Brad Pitt thing. The whole, deep accent. It's clearly Kirvin. What is that? Kirvin. For who? For me, ma? And Jason Statham, who's actually British, trying to decipher what he's saying, right? In that movie. Yeah. It's fantastic. It's still a popcorn and 2 beers for me. The cast is so great. Benicio del Toro, Brad Pitt, Jason Statham, Guy Ritchie directed, plus so many other ancillary actors and actresses in that movie. Mm-hmm. So it was fantastic. Yes, the old man and the pigs.
Wonderful scene. Very cinematic.
How to get rid of bodies, right? What do you do? Here, cheers to White Claw. That's what I had in the refrigerator this week. It's a tale of degenerates, fighters, thieves, gangsters, and gypsies. That was what I said it was. And I think that's pretty accurate. I loved it. I think everyone should watch Snatch. I think it is one of those films that you can watch no matter what. And even though it's dated, you could still be like, man, this film was so good.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good movie.
I then watched Willy's Wonderland with Nicolas Cage, and it's along the lines of Mandy, right? It's in that same vein. So Nicolas Cage is commissioned to go clean out an old child's playhouse, kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese, right?
Okay.
And it all happens because Nicolas Cage gets a flat tire, which apparently, as you find out later, is planned. And in that scene, the guy goes, yeah, we can fix your car. It'll cost you $1,000 though. Then he takes out a credit card. He goes, I got no use for that, plastic around here. We only take cash. So Nicolas Cage looks at the ATM, right? And on that ATM, it's obviously out of order. So it's all a ploy to get him to go clean this Chuck E. Cheese type style restaurant playhouse. And as he goes to clean out this Chuck E. Cheese style playhouse, you start to catch on. Oh, Nicolas Cage's character is not going to talk throughout this film. So he doesn't say a single word. And let me tell you, he was acting his tail off. It was all that over the top acting, but just with facial expressions. He has this weird beer / energy drink, and he's just murdering puppets the whole movie.
This sounds incredible.
Yeah, man. It actually, when I was watching, I was like, "This film is probably right up Josh's alley."
Can't wait. I want to watch it.
It's him overacting. It's murdering. It's on Amazon Prime, so for free you can watch it. Just over the top murdering puppets, oil instead of blood spraying everywhere. It gets a little dark. Outside of that, if you're just in it to have fun, if you just want to have a good time, a pop and 2 beers. But for me, it was a pop and 1. If I was to judge it like correctly, it's definitely a pop and 1. But Nicolas Cage, ass off, just ass off the whole movie. I really enjoyed it.
Like some Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. I wonder if it was inspired at all. Have you played that game?
One more time with the game.
Five Nights at Freddy's is what it's called.
I've never played that. No.
Oh, it's very similar sounding. Like you play a security guard in a Chuck E. Cheese, basically Freddy's, and you have to keep an eye on the animal or the animatronic puppet creatures. And there's different cameras, different rooms, and they won't move if you're looking at them. So you have to keep changing, gosh. And they all behave differently, and like they want to kill you. So you have to like keep watching them on different cameras and stuff. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy that one. I also watched Deadpool. It's still a pop and a 3 for me. It's still a pop and 3 for me.
Easy peasy.
As far as comic book movies go, it is so good. It is so original that I don't think you could pass on it. If you haven't seen it yet, it's been too long. It's a great movie.
It's a movie that I never would have ever thought could possibly get made perfectly, and it really did get made perfectly.
Yeah, and Ryan's great, and Ryan really stays true to the comic books, and he wants to, it seems. My documentary, I watched Money Shot, a Pornhub story.
Cool.
It got so morbid that I felt bad about even watching the documentary. So I gave it a pop and 1. But the things I did like, it showed how the adult film industry and the adult sex industry could be a reliable source of income for many people that are willing to perform. Many people do it at their own volition and are ID checked. However, the dark side to it is apparently there's I don't know why I said apparently. I mean, I guess there's an underbelly in all porn. Not all. Jesus, it's so hard to talk about, man. I don't know how to talk about it.
It's a dark market.
I'll just be blunt. Sex trafficking, revenge porn, which we're going to talk about this week on the Sad Fan as well. It's a terrible shame that it's happening because I think that the sex work industry between consenting adults, just let them do it. Like, let them do it, is my opinion. Who cares? If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to, but other people want to. But then when you get the darker side, you really got to think about it, go deeper. So a pop and a beer.
Yeah, dude. That reminds me of, have you seen, I think it's called Hot Girls Wanted documentary?
Yes.
It's
Hot Girls Wanted, same thing. There's a great TV show called Kingdom, and it's about mixed martial arts, but they have that aspect to it. It's like a side story that's going on, and it did it really well.
Cool. That's what's up.
Now, I also watched an Oscar-nominated film called Empire of Light. I will say this. It is an oddly beautiful story. Like, you kind of fall in love with the story. And it doesn't work out perfectly. Like, not everything works out for the actors in the end. But at the same time, you're kind of like, wow, that was kind of beautiful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's good.
Popping a beer. It's a fun movie. It's a good movie. It has its hard moments, it has light moments. But like Sam Mendes is an amazing director. But in this one, I just kind of feel like he missed the mark. He was trying to get you to focus on way too many things. Like, way too many things. Yeah, our drunk classic for the week, Phonebooth. I got to say, I'm with Jordan here. It's a classic for me. It's a nostalgic classic. So I gave it a pop and 2. When I was watching it, I did have the thought, like, man, we really got to stop having drunk classic with Mac Daddy Pimps. Like, we got to stop that. Somewhere along the line, like, let's stop having drunk classics with Mac Daddy Pimps in them.
Why is he wearing exercise pants? Oh.
Yeah. All the gold chains, the baseball bats. It's just a wild concept of, like, what is it, citizens arrest almost, but citizens murder, citizens accountability. But the whole time I'm watching this, the reason it's not a perfect movie for me is I'm thinking, there's so many better people that he could be doing this to than like a non-relevant human being.
Just some
like politicians. Yeah.
Like a lot of
politicians, billionaires.
Guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't the guy before a child trafficker and he's just a phony? Like Colin Farrell's character is he's just a phony. That's all.
Yeah. That's all he did wrong is he thought
this
about
guy's a phony.
He considered cheating on his wife, but never did. Kind of wanted to, but didn't do it. like the kid was an intern, but the kid knew he wasn't getting paid. Probably had every bit of knowledge that he didn't have any intention on getting paid. Like I'm sitting here, like, yeah, Colin Farrell's kind of a degenerate, but he's also like, this is actually his real job. So
he's just a miserable phony. Yeah. So like, it was cool to have that scene where he's like, I've been not good, and he says all of his sins, and he's like really honest, and that was really well acted, and it was a good scene. But then afterwards, just like his wife is like, yeah, okay, we're gonna work this out because it's, you know what I mean? But yeah, nostalgia, dude. And then there's also just like the fact that they convinced you to stare at a phone booth for an hour and a half, right? It's pretty impressive feat.
And Colin Farrell acted his tail off in that phone booth. Him and Forrest Whitaker were really the main characters. Yeah.
Yeah, really impressive.
Then we have our butter on top, Shazam. I gave it a pop and a beer. I did not think it was great. I thought it was lazy dialogue again. I thought maybe I'm getting Marvel and comic book fatigue during this movie. Like, I don't know. I hope I'm not because I love this genre. And every time I see the trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy, I get really excited. I'm like, oh, thank God.
You know, it's going to have good dialogue. It's a guarantee with James Gunnies.
Yeah. Like Jordan said, the CGI, absolutely beautiful. Like, just so well done in the CGI department. It was the best part of the movie. They introduced their gay hero. So that was interesting the way they did it. It was very passive and just like, oh yeah, this guy's gay. It was an interesting approach because I know a lot of films and a lot of comic book movies want to start doing this, introducing more diverse characters so as to make people feel more welcome under the tent. And that was fine. That was cool.
I do appreciate that.
It was very passive.
Like, who cares? Yeah.
And that's really what it was. It was
that's
really
what a lot of reality is. It's not for everyone, but most of the time it's like, oh yeah, okay. You want to help me do the dishes or not?
Yeah, but that's kind of how it was. He's like, I'm gay. And everybody's like, yeah, we know. So what?
Look at your cake.
So a pop and a beer for me. I put they really were aiming for the tween audience. It looked like a cutesy tween movie with the dialogue and everything. I'm really getting tired of that. Like, I get they're the ones that make things cool. Though. It's way over the top. It's so tweeny. Lots of, depressed guy kept down, but he's kind of hot, so he's going to win the chick in the end. Like, lots of that. It's too much, to be honest. It's a slow start. The end is well worth it. The end is a good end. I will say, like, you get a lot of dealing with empty nest syndrome from the hero, lots of imposter syndrome from the hero, which is cool because that's kind of an in vogue mental illness right now.
And he is an imposter.
Highlight Lucy Liu. Yeah. Highlight Lucy Liu. Lucy Liu was great. Lucy Liu was fantastic. It was great to see her making a return to the big screen. I mean, she is such a great villain. But yeah, so a pop and a beer for me. And that's what I got for you this week. Yeah, so I know we're doing all of the John Wicks, but I thought it'd also be fitting to stay in the moment. And Quentin Tarantino announced his next film is going to be The Critic, about a film critic. Which is, I don't know how he's going to make that, like, violent, right? Like, we'll see. He's a pretty violent dude. But it's called The Critic, so I thought, well, Quentin Tarantino is announcing his final film. Why don't we go with a Quentin Tarantino-produced film? So I thought about Reservoir Dogs, but I'm pretty sure everyone's seen that. But I went with one that was kind of a cult classic, and he produced it, directed by Mr. Rodriguez, called Natural Born Killers.
Oh, I thought you were going to say True Romance, because he wrote that. Dang.
No.
But, okay, Natural Born Killers. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Juliette Lewis, Woody Harrelson.
Maybe after about 10, 15 years, it'll be good. I know it's wild and wacky. Why not? Yeah, let's do some Natural Born Killers. And if you can get all the John Wicks in there, I'm not sure what they're on. I'm sure they're going to be available with the movie coming up. We'll watch some John Wicks for the butter on top. I'm interested to see it because I don't even remember, where did he end up in the last one? Was he just like cool and he saved the day in a bit? Or maybe he's like checking in the hotel?
Man. I just remember Halle Berry and her dogs.
The dogs, dude. That was such a cool scene.
Yeah.
Halle Berry. All right, yeah, that's cool. Good show. We'll see y'all next week at the movies, huh?